the discussion is using Nagios as a security monitoring framework. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for John Lowry.
Hi. Just a quick background. I'm a security engineer, technically speaking, but really I'm a sysadmin who hangs out with security people. I make sure we have about 200 devices we monitor ourselves for vulnerability scanners, network taps, all kinds of equipment we keep an eye on the rest of the network for, as well as do vulnerability assessments for companies that hire us to try and break their web applications or their infrastructure. So I make sure that whatever the other guys use is up and running and working. Also, keep an eye on our own infrastructure. That's primarily my task, is keeping an eye on things. I'm blue team, I'm the defense. I make sure bad guys are getting in, or if they do get in, which is usually an inevitability, I want to make sure I at least notice, hey, something just happened. We need to keep on it. So I use Nagios for everything that I can think of. My first day I got there, I started 6 months ago, I had 20,000 emails waiting in my inbox when they had created my account 3 days earlier, because they had the previous team that had been there for a while had set up all these scripts that were automated and running from cron and sending emails with no context if it was good, bad, okay, and different. And so I slowly but surely been feeding those in Nagios. So I'm going to share some of my experiences with that, as well as some things I've come up with since I've been there. Real quick, frameworks versus out of the box. Just as a quick discussion, I like Nagios as a framework. Out of the box is one size fits all. They just kind of make assumptions about 95% of the market out there, give it to you. If it doesn't work for you, too bad. Good luck fixing it. They don't give you a way to make it work for you. Yeah, it assumes things about your infrastructure, like, oh, of course you have you have one default gateway. You have, well, what do you mean you can't send? You can't use a mail relay, or you have to use a mail relay, or email doesn't even work for you. The downside of frameworks, it's a lot more work up front. You really have to put a lot of thought into it. I think most people's first experience with Nagios as a framework is kind of like, what am I doing? I don't quite get it. I can't just point it at that thing. When you can point it, you get ping, you get HTTP checks, but if you want to do anything more than that, you're like, well, that was kind of some work just for a little bit. It's a steeper learning curve. You really have to kind of wrap your head around some concepts at first. So thing is, you get a lot more configuration and customization out of it, because you can really make it do anything you want. You just have to dig into it. The more you put in, the more you get out. Yeah. Why Nagios for security? The alert framework is awesome. If you want an email, you'll get an email, which is usually everyone's default move. Except I can think a couple different security products I use that send an email, send a terrible email. Custom written SNMP stacks. They can't deal with a mail relay, or they don't have proper mail headers for some reason. Nagios, I can get an IM, I can get SMS, I can get a phone call. I even set up one time a spinny light thing to let developers know when they were running out of power on a particular circuit. However you want an alert, you can do an alert. Escalations is the greatest thing ever. I'm here talking right now and not getting any emails on my phone or text messages because I can just send it to my boss or another guy on the team. My boss is getting married in 2 weeks. He's going to be on honeymoon. I've already got it set up that if it escalates and I'm not handling it, or the guy who I work with is not handling it, my boss's boss will get an escalation email like, hey, what's going on, guys? It's fantastic. Not one product I have ever looked at that sends you an email that is security monitoring will do this for you. If there is one, let me know. Nagios is built for anomaly detection. If you set it up right, you know what's going on in your network. Nagios is telling you everything's working as expected. When something changes on your network, it's not always security. In fact, 99% of the time, it's not a security incident. It's not someone breaking in. However, you never know. Like, if you're getting DDoSed and your web server's not working, or you're running out of memory, or your database server is crashing, you're getting 500 error messages, it's telling you something has changed and you need to pay attention to it. There's an anomalous situation. Nagios is really good at telling you that. Yeah, basic Nagios, apt-get install Nagios or build it from source or whatever. It's pretty good at this. Security, network, DBA, whoever, sysadmins ask, why is this server throwing 500 error messages? Why am I getting SMTP traps? Why is the temperature changing in the server room? Is someone opening the door and leaving it open? Did we lose power on the AC? Did someone cut the power? I don't know. One problem I have run into, and this is my early example when I had 20,000 emails when I first started after my email being open for 3 days, but I started that Wednesday or whatever, is noise versus signal. I have a noise problem at my current location that I'm slowly but surely fixing, like the whole team does. A lot of people in the company do. I wish I could find it. I know I read it in a Bruce Schneier book, and if you don't know who Bruce Schneier is, he's a really good cryptographer and really well spoken. He's got a great blog. You should read it. But he was talking about how a red team for the Army, like actually physically breaking into location, Army installations is their job. They go and test the security to prove whether it's working or not. I forgot it was like a nuclear facility or something crazy, and they had fancy smancy laser motion detectors and sound vibrating whatevers, and it told them whenever anyone would touch the wire or whatever it was. So what these guys did is they went to the pet store, they bought like 50 little rabbits, they hid a little over the hill where there was no detection, there was no lights, and every 15 minutes they would let a rabbit go. And the rabbit would hop on his merry way, and he would touch the fence or trigger the sensor or whatever it was, and the guys would roll out from the base, and they'd have their machine guns and M16s and rocket launchers and you name it, and they'd be good and ready to go. And it's like 3 in the morning, so guys are getting tired of this because every 15 minutes, it's clearly there's like a group of rabbits setting off. So you know what? Forget about it. It's a false positive. We're just going to ignore it and fix it in the morning. And once they turned a couple, the red team turned a couple more rabbits loose to keep triggering it to make sure the guys weren't coming, stood up, walked on their merry way, cut through the fence, and moved on to the next level of security. All because they trained the guards who were supposed to be paying attention that this is a bad sensor. Don't look at me over here. There's nothing happening over here. So false positives are a big problem when you're trying to monitor security or just in general. Make sure you fix that. Real quick, if you have a valid alert, if you're getting stuff, make sure you do something with it. That's your job most of the time is, hey, website's down, fix it. DNS server's down, fix it. If it's a bad false positive, or if it is a false positive, it's a bad alert, maybe you need to change the threshold. Maybe you need to turn it off. Maybe you don't want to care about it anymore. But you got to do something with it. Don't ignore it. Anecdotal experience of mine is we had a storage array of like 20 terabytes that was complaining every morning at 8 a.m. Oh, it's at 90%. We're like, ugh. We're generating not even like 500 megs a day, and we rotate it off, and we don't really care about it. And so every day at 8 a.m., we'd get this email, and it was the alert. We didn't really care. So one Monday morning at 8:15 a.m., before we really had our coffee, it went to 98% because something had changed, and all of a sudden was dumping all this data into this storage array. And we were so used to getting a critical alert because we hadn't fixed the alert that we ignored it for 20 minutes until we realized, oh man, this storage array is about to be full and all our infrastructure is running off of it. And because we trained ourselves, don't worry about it. So now we get an alert, and if we on the team go, hey, this isn't a good thing, we'll fix it right then and there. Like, okay, we need to change the alert. We'll drop whatever we're doing to make sure we're not getting trained. And it cuts down on the emails, and it gets people reacting more when they see the Nagios alert come in. Like, okay, this is valid. I need to pay attention to this. If you're getting false positives, fix the check. Change the threshold, maybe get rid of it, depending on what you need to do. Tune the frequency, do not be the source of the problem. That's basically if you're checking once an hour, or it's alerting every 15 minutes. I mean, if you're going to ignore it, don't blast yourself, because then you're really going to ignore it. We do what I term it active tuning, where if there's a problem, we fix it right then and there. I know on other groups that I've worked with, and groups even in my company internally, they have a big change management protocol about making any changes at all, and they have to have a meeting, or everyone agrees to it, so they have a weekly meeting. I even know one team that does it like monthly, and I'm like, man, in the meantime, you're getting 100 emails a day that you don't care about. That's not good. But come up with it on your own, however it works for you. What I've been really doing, what my work has been doing, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not, but what I've been really working on is integrating external tools, kind of best-of-breed tools. Antivirus software, I use ePolicy Orchestrator, which is a McAfee product. But whatever you use, integrate your AV, IPS, IDS, Snort, Bro, Securata, whatever you use, hit host-based intrusion detection system, file integrity checkers, log monitoring, host and service detection. Most of my 20,000 emails were Nmap scripts from a couple different environments that would send me the results of their Nmap script that were the same every single day. And I was like, cool, I'm glad you're doing that, but I don't really care about these hosts that I know about. So maybe I can put this into Nagios and have it run once a day and tell me when something has changed. SNMP traps, which is actually how I get data from a couple of my solutions. My general rule of thumb, if you get an email from the script that you run that does something interesting, and it's once a day, once an hour, once every week, whatever, you could probably put it in Nagios, and that way you don't get that email that you don't care about until something changes. It's not super hard to write a plugin. I am by no stretch of the imagination an amazing programmer or even a decent programmer. I usually hurt myself when I program, but I can do Nagios plugins. It's not that hard. I will say that a lot of those external tools, they're passive checks. So if you haven't delved deep into that, you basically, it runs on the machine. This check happens. You get some result. And you have to submit it to the Nagios command file. It's in various places depending on how you've installed it. And then it gets picked up. There's a configuration setting in the nagios.cfg file. Check results Reaper event. It's 10 seconds by default. So every 10 seconds it comes along and looks at that file to see if there's anything new and interesting. And then you have a service that you've created that filters it and looks at it and goes, ah, this means this. Maybe I should do something with it. I should send a critical or a warning, or it's just normal. The thing with me that using this strategy that this is a newer thing for me, was how do I clear the check? Like, how do I get back to normal? How do I recover? The best thing I've come up with is I'd rather get the alert and then have it go back to normal in the next host check. So it's like, it's hitting this host. It runs a passive check, sends alert, oh, AV's got something. Next time it checks the AV server, it should just go back to normal. Like, okay, it's still working normally. I still get the email, I still get alerted. You can't acknowledge it, which is kind of frustrating, and you don't get reminded, hey, deal something, there's something going wrong, But at least you got the email and something that makes sense. Because a lot of the products out there send you these nonsense emails that have all this extra information you don't really care about. I want a couple things. I want the workstation ID, I want what network it's on, and maybe the username. But I get just this too long didn't read email of multiple pages. I'm just jumping ahead a little bit. This is good for forensics, and when I say forensics, I should put quotes around that. You can go look at what time you got the alert. So if you're trying to put together a timeline of when something happened, you can look at your email. It's usually within that 10-second window. Yeah, this happens anyway. If you get one email, that's usually the product doesn't send you multiple emails. Hey, you have a virus outbreak. Hey, you have a virus outbreak. It's like every time there's a workstation compromise, you get an email maybe. But at least Nagios has a better alert system. Some automation, and this has been the biggest win for me at my location, using event handlers. Workstation incident response is like the biggest pain in the butt for everyone, because at our company, we get the help desk involved, which is fine. It's not saying they're slow. It's just you have to do a lot of work to determine, was that a targeted attack, which has happened at my company, or is that just someone clicking on something that maybe wasn't the smartest thing in the world to click on? We have Palo Alto networks. I'm kind of tipping my hat a little bit, or ePolicy Orchestrator. Those are the two places I usually get alerted first that something's going wrong, besides a user saying, hey, my computer's slow. Palo Alto, usually it's a firewall product, unified threat management thing. It's pretty good about blocking most well-known viruses that go by, and it just tells us, hey, I blocked this. And I'm like, cool. Sometimes, though, it's like I didn't block it because I wasn't sure, and now I'm seeing command and control traffic, which is always really interesting. ePolicy Orchestrator usually tells us, hey, I deleted this file. Great. Does that mean 10 other files have been infected and you don't know about it now? But at least it tells us something has happened. There's a possibility someone did something. Both of them don't really have a great alert system. They send emails or they send SNMP traps, and their emails are terrible. I should have grabbed a screenshot to show you, especially the Palo Alto. It's just codes that make no sense and super non-descriptive. Hey, I did this thing, and I've just been kind of figuring out what those codes mean and if I really care that much about them. Nagios then uses this. Okay, so I have like a service that says, okay, alert, this, Palo Alto's telling me that this host name, and it gives it in the performance data, this host name has been infected, or I blocked it, or I didn't. And then it uses the event handler to grab 24 hours of PCAP data. We have another huge storage array. We store 31 days of PCAP data of our office traffic because just there's so much stuff going on. We need to look at the body of the information. We have a large network with a lot of users, so we expire it because 31 days is kind of silly. I was arguing for a week, but we had enough room that we can do 31. Our hosted environment, where we have a lot of websites that are e-commerce websites or whatever, for that stuff, we only store n number of bytes of the stuff because it's all web-based attacks. So we don't need to look too much at it because it's in the first, 100 kilobytes really of the attack. But for the users, where it's this really varied environment, they're clicking on things, they're downloading things, it's a drive-by download, it's a malicious Java update. We need to look at it and see what's going on. So we store a lot of that stuff in PCAPs instead of NetFlow because we need to look at that, the body of the message. We use this wonderful, awesome project called Bro, or Bro IDS, and the Team Kermu, I can never say that right, Team Kermu malware registry hash is a wonderful thing where people have volunteered to collect all the hashes of every single malware they find and share it with the world. And it has a great script that goes through it all and checks for it to see if it can find it. It's not like an end-all be-all solution for this because you get the results, sometimes it doesn't find anything, but at least it tells you something, and it gives you multiple files of like what that user was doing at that time. So it reaches out, grabs it, can never remember the product that we're using, but it's the one I want to replace it with is Moloch. I can't remember what we use, but I want to replace it with something else. But it also files a ticket with the help desk saying, hey, we probably got something, so can you grab this information? It's just an automated thing, creates a ticket. Can you grab these pieces of information from the workstation for us and then attach it to this ticket? Creates a ticket in our queue with all the information, the PCAP file, the resulting bro scan, and everything else for us, and it kicks it off. And this is all happening while I'm getting coffee. What used to take a half an hour to an hour done sometimes because you have to like get through it all. It's the same commands, but you have to like get this thing over here and do this over here. The script just does it for you. It doesn't figure it out for you. You still have to have a network analyst, a security guy look at it, but at least you're not screwing around. And you can go get coffee or soda or whatever. So I talked kind of fast. That normally takes me 30 minutes, but I got a little nervous. Anyone have any questions? And that was very high level. I know I didn't have a live demo or anything, mainly because demos always blow up in my face. So,
any questions or comments? Is there anything you're currently working on that you'd like to share with us?
Not yet. Trying to get Bro in and of itself, or multiple intrusion detection systems that we use. They send alerts, usually not even via email, or if they do, it's very not helpful. So I'm trying to integrate those better. So instead of looking at a log file and kind of tailing it, or having kind of a email address that sends it security at, I want to integrate it better with Nagios somehow. And I've been playing with things, but nothing's really satisfactory. I'd like to get it working so it's almost an instant alert. Like if it's like, okay, this is really bad, you need to pay attention to this. This is critical. Based on if it's a signature in Snort, and if you guys use Snort, it's got a signature-based thing. Or Bro just has some heuristic stuff. Like this isn't normal. We're seeing 20% more SSH traffic going out. What does that mean? So I'm looking at something like that, but I haven't really got anything working where I can count on it.
Any other questions?
Oh, he's bringing in the thing.
What framework are you using to actually process the alerts that you receive from Snort or EPO, or I mean, they're all different, or
yeah.
They're all different formats.
So that's probably something I should probably. I have it on my GitHub profile. I have some event handlers, or not event handlers, with the Nagios trap handler that I'm blanking on all of a sudden. NSTI. It I have a script that will turn it into Nagios data, and then provide performance data, and then Nagios makes that script makes the decision: is it a critical? Is it a warning? So the logic's in the script itself, and it's a command line switch. So you can say, oh, if it's this level or it's this profile. Like one of the log monitoring scripts I have, it's kind of cheesy, but when we lock out users that go in this list that I have access to, it's just a database. And I grab that list and I look for all usernames. I look for username login attempts, just in case that user, because people gets laid off. Next day they're trying to get back in to see if they can do some bad stuff. I want to see, is that happening? And I want to see if they're successful login attempts because someone forgot to turn off that person's account too. So that is one thing I look for a lot. So hit me up via email too, by the way. If I have the GitHub stuff up there, I just didn't obviously provide the link.
So you're primarily using this as a notification system as opposed to taking action.
Yeah, and I want to do take action more. That's like, I kind of feel like there's a follow-up I could do in a year. It's just 6 months, it was a lot harder to get these things pulled together than I thought. And I'm in a larger technology organization than I've been in previous. I'm used to being one of 2 people where it's like, yeah, I'll just change it. Now it's like, oh, I got to fill out a change request form and got to talk to this guy and beg, borrow, and plead with this guy. So there's been some challenges from that end for me to get some things working, as well as just putting out fires when you get 50 people who clicked on something they weren't supposed to click on, and you're cleaning out workstations and stuff like that. So.
Could you, in the forums, Nagios forums, there's a Nagios World Conference thing. Could you post a link to your GitHub account and stuff in there?
Yes.
Any other questions for John? Well, I guess if that's all you have, thank you for your time, John. Let's give him a big round of applause.